Let's begin by taking a look at what we created last time. If we look at our level, we now have a car that drives around, and we set up a little bit of physics so that our car drops down. What we're going to do in this level is we're just going to set up a trigger box like this. And when I press play and I run into it, we'll restart the level. And we're going to need you to, for your essentially part of your homework assignment or on your own, is you're going to set up these uh, trigger boxes so that if we go off of the side of the map, it'll restart the level, or if you fall off the map. So don't worry, it's the blueprints themselves are not very difficult to do, like to set up, and I'll show you those in a moment. But just setting up something like this so that if our player drives off the map, it restarts the level, you know, things like that if our player falls. And it's going to require you to create a few of these trigger boxes. So let's take a look at how we would create those. So over here in our blueprints class, I created a new blueprint. We're going to name this properly though. And we added an on component overlap node. We got the current level name, and then we opened the same level. And what we're doing is we're checking the player pawn, which we set up in a previous tutorial, which is our cab. We're checking if our cab is the same as the other actor that we're overlapping with. And then we use a branch node to check whether that's true or false. So are these two things the same? We get the current level and then we open the level. This will probably make sense because we're going to pretty much do this all over again right now. And so let's go ahead and do that. So in our cab level, inside of our blueprint here, this folder, I'm going to click up here, or rather here, I'm going to create a new blueprint class, a new empty, and we're just going to make an actor. And it says create blank blueprint. What I want to do is inside of this cabs folder, I'm going to select BP. I'm going to hit save. And let's go back for a moment and make sure, I'm going to close this out. And inside of this, I want to rename this, let's see, BP underscore, maybe out of bounds. And then maybe underscore trigger, just in case, so we don't forget. So I'll drag this into our scene. I'm going to actually delete this one out. And for this, our BP out of bounds, I'm just going to double click it. And let's see, parent class actor. Yeah, let's maximize that. Sorry about that. Open full blueprint editor. If you ever get that where it's just giving you these options, you want to click that button that said open full blueprint editor. Another way of doing it is inside of here, you can just click where it's located in our scene. Here's our out of bounds trigger. You can just click this and this will edit it. All right, so a couple of things is one, we need a collision box. Right now it's just sort of this empty object, game object. There's really nothing underneath here. So you want to hit plus, and I just want to start typing collision, COLL, and I'm going to add a box collider. And then you could name this box trigger. And if we look back, if we compile and save this, we look back at our scene, you could see that we actually have this box trigger here. And I'm just going to zero this out. And then, so it's roughly where our cab is. Let's hit F to focus on it, like this. And let's move over here. And I'm just going to build like a wall, something that I know that if I run into it, we'll be able to test it. So this is going to be our one. Like I said, part of your assignment is you're going to have to duplicate this 3 times, really maybe more than that, and just run it across these 2 walls and then underneath the map. And then let's go back in and let's sort of work on this. So we're inside of our event graph now. And what I want to do is on our box trigger with it selected is I'm going to scroll all the way down. And these are a bunch of events. Like you're pretty familiar with events now. Event begin play. When the game starts, it'll begin playing whatever visual scripts or visual coding you put in there. What we're going to do in here is we want to add a node that just says on component begin overlap. And what that means is when we enter this trigger area, something is going to happen, right? So the first thing I want to do is I want to check whether or not my other actor that we're colliding with, because remember, this blueprint is attached to this trigger here. So if our cab runs in there, I want to check, well, what am I running into? So what I can do is I can use this equals node. And what this essentially is going to do is it's going to say, hey, is this other actor the same as something else? And the other thing we're going to check to see is if we right click in here, we type in player pawn. If we get our player pawn, and we link this in here, this is the actual player, right? So like if we look back at our blueprint here, see how I'm getting the player pawn, I'm making it equal to. What we're doing is we're checking, is this the player in the game? And if it is the same, we can do something. Well, we can add a branch node. And what this branch node does, and again, we kind of go over these things over and over again. So please, I don't think repetition hurts, right? To learn again. But all of this is checking is the condition coming into this, which is like, are these two things equal, true or false? If it's true, we're going to do something. If it's false, it's going to do something. So we could do a print statement here, and it says, we hit trigger. So let's look at that, hit trigger. And let's compile and save that, and let's press play. And now when I run through this, it says, hello, hit trigger, because I guess I didn't delete the hello part. Another way of doing it is we can delete this, and we can right click in here, and we can create a breakpoint. And what it'll do is it'll essentially break away from the project once we hit this condition, this branch, if it's true. So let's compile and save that. Let's press play. And this is just another way of testing your code. And you'll see it jumped into our blueprint, and it shows us, hey, we hit this branch. This worked. Okay, perfect. So let's right click and then untoggle that breakpoint so that we can move on with our code. Otherwise, it'll always hit that breakpoint. And what exactly are we trying to do if it's true? Well, if we look back at our original blueprint, we want to get the current level name, and then we want to open the level by that name. So the current level name is essentially this cab01 scene here. So if we say, hey, if it's true, we're going to get the current level name. And what's nice about this node is this return value here is already storing this name, cab001. And so we're going to get the current level name, and then we're just going to open level by name. And then I'm just going to grab this return value and then link it in there. And it's going to do a conversion here. See, it says convert a string to a name value, because a name value is essentially the one that's on the level versus a string, which is a series of letters. So I'm going to go ahead and compile and save this. All right, so let's go ahead and compile and save this to test it. And I'm going to go ahead and press play. And now you'll see it restarts the level. So what I want you to do is a couple things. So I'm going to just take this one, because the nice thing about a blueprint is we could always reuse them, right? So I'm going to rotate this one 90 degrees. I think we have to rotate on the z-axis. So I'm jumping between this and Unity. So 90. I'm going to place this here and hit R and scale this out. Now these are always going to change based on how you I'm going to type, let's say 200 in here just for now. Oh, that's a little long. 100. We'll just leave it at 100. I'm going to copy that by holding Alt and clicking on that arrow, just lining that up. And then just on your own, same thing, right? Like duplicate this and then just try to get it so that it's, we'll zero out this rotation. And we could just adjust the scaling here. We can make this 1, and we'll make this 2. And then in here, just do, 50 by 50. I know I said do it on your own, but really it's the polish of it. So that way, if it falls off or they hit the wall, and then again, you're going to be building houses eventually and all this other stuff. And so you'll be moving the restart stuff over and over. But let's see if I move that far enough. So if I fall off the map, you can see it restarted. All right, that's it for this lecture. And let's make sure that you always save all, and and there we go. And then I'm actually going to go into this blueprints one I went before and just delete it.